Good evening, college basketball nation. As I am yours truly, Jadson Johnson, and I got my partner in crime, Will and D, for tonight's
What's up,
edition of the
everyone?
college basketball recap preview show, as we will be recapping some of the best moments from the round of 32, and we will be previewing some of the best matchups in the Sweet 16. How you doing tonight, man?
What a crazy time to be a fan, man. We got we have March Madness, we have the coaching carousel, and we have the transfer portal. So much craziness going on. I'm just trying to keep track of it all.
Well, we will be keeping track of it all, that is for sure. And we'll be starting off with the team that just doesn't lose to Michigan State in March Madness whatsoever. The North Carolina Tar Heels, as they have dominated them 85-69. What was your take on this game, Will?
Well, it wasn't as rough for the Spartans as that national championship game was, but once again, Tom Izzo does have the Tar Heels number.
They do, that's for sure. And we got our friend Sports Talk with Austin. Say, what's up, guys? Go Wolfpack. Well, we hope that the Louisville Cardinals can get a really good coach. That is for sure. I believe they will.
I mean, I do remember that one time in like a highlight package I saw that Michigan State, when they won the national championship with Izzo, they did beat North Carolina in the regular season, so they have that win. But other than that, I can't think of many times that the Spartans were able to get the better of the Tar Heels.
Wow. They seem to do all right in the regular season, but they've never beaten North Carolina in the history of March Madness. It's weird, though.
Man. Wow.
Yup. Especially when it was like before, when our grandparents were born. They just can't get it done. And we got our friend Jason O saying, yo, make sure to like on both channels. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate the love.
We thank you so much, man. We appreciate it very much. But someone who's not getting any love is the Dayton Flyers. What is going on with them? But congratulations to the Arizona Wildcats.
Dame just doesn't have enough good. I mean, they have Deron Holmes. He's great. They just don't have many other good scorers around him besides him and Kobe Bryant. They just needed that one more piece, I think, to really have a fighting chance against the Wildcats. But a good season for the Flyers. But it'll be interesting to see how they'll do with Deron Holmes, most likely going to the NBA. If they can keep Kobe Bryant, they may be able to have another and get someone good from the portal. They may have another chance to go on another run, but this was their chance, and they got a tournament win for the first time in a long time for them. So, still a good season for the Flyers and the Wildcats. They can win the Natty. They're a threat for sure.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if this is the year where Arizona can make it to a Final Four. But one thing I've been wondering about is, I've heard a lot of people talk about how the downfall for Dayton was their over-reliance on the three-point game. What do you think about that, Will?
I mean, without Holmes on the inside, they don't really have that many good two-point scorers. They really just have to jack up the three. And Brea can do that well, but if he gets hot. But none of the other guys are very reliable.
And Sports Talk with Austin says, Alabama, please, for the love of my bracket, beat North Carolina. Well, I hope the Crimson Tide win, but I'll go more into that in just a little bit. And we got a question from Sports Talk with Austin asking, who do you guys trust going forward, Purdue, Arizona, or Tennessee? Will, let's start with you.
That's a tough question because I don't really trust any of them. Those are probably the three teams that could win the national championship, but man, I don't trust them. So that's a good question, Austin.
Well,
right now,
go ahead.
Jeffrey may laugh at me, but I'm actually going to say Purdue right now. Only because they added Lance Jones for the 3-point shooting. So they do have that reliable score along with Zach Edey just being dominant. So I'm going to go with Purdue.
Well, all right, man. To each their own. Well, personally, I'm gonna say Arizona because I
Yeah.
mean they seem to get things done a little more than Purdue and Tennessee. I mean, beating Utah State is not something to brag about, but neither is beating a pathetic Texas team. Let's see what you can do in the big games like Creighton and Gonzaga.
Mm.
Then I will take you a little bit more seriously. And Sorgy Story says, "What's up, guys? Sorry I'm late. Nah, you're good, man. You are good. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's edition of the show. Watching the women's basketball game of West Virginia, Iowa. Iowa's up 58-52, 34 seconds to go.
Yeah, it looks like Iowa and UCLA are going to hold serve and move on in the
Oh, they
women's.
will. And we got a yo from Traveling Fools. Yo, Traveling Fools. How you doing tonight, man? Thank you for tuning in to tonight's show.
Thanks for coming on, TF. Appreciate it, my friend.
And we got a great game that happened between Washington State and Iowa State. Unfortunately, the last game of the
Mm.
Kyle Smith era in Cougar Town.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State, they have the best defense, and they showed it. I mean, Washington State, they were scoring, them and Drake, they were both, it was a shootout. But in this one, Iowa State made a rock fight, only allowed 56 points. You're going to beat pretty much every team in the tournament if you score 50, if you force them to only 56 points. So, yeah, excited to see Iowa State's next game for sure. And yeah, TJ Otzelberger's doing a great job there. And shout out former VCU star Hassan Ward is tearing it up with the Cyclones.
Yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm.
And Sword Story says, yeah, UCLA survives
Mm-hmm.
Creighton. And we got a rock and roll from Traveling Fools.
Mm-hmm.
Because and Sports Talk with Austin says Iowa State is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Sorgy saying
Yeah.
at least it looks like I think he's referencing UCLA Creighton.
Mm-hmm. It's still a
But
5-point game though, but it ain't over yet. But
true. And we got the Rick Barnes game where he's going up against his old team, Texas. What was your take on this classic?
Dalton Connect, man, he's that missing piece that Tennessee thinks they have to go on a run. Texas made it tough though. Credit to the Longhorns for staying in it until the end, but the Vols did win out hold serve.
Yeah. I mean, if Dalton Connect can lead Tennessee to a Final Four trip, what's this do for stock in the NBA draft?
I think he'll rise it a good bit.
Yeah. Well, they have to win the big games first.
They'll
Beating
and
Tech.
they're going to have a huge test coming up in the Sweet 16. And Jackson, I know you're going to pounce right on them if they lose it.
Oh, you know I will. I mean, I'm always going to pounce on teams that can't win the big games of the postseason.
Especially if it's the Tennessee Volunteers.
Nothing personal, Tennessee, just business. Connect is incredible. Got a Balls fan in my class, so I've heard
Oh,
his
man.
praises
Yeah,
all year.
man.
Oh man, you'll have to tell us the stories about that one of these days, man.
Buckeye Battle
Buckeye.
Cry, thanks for coming on.
Oh, there we go. Buckeyes battle cry. That Houston Texas A&M game sure was fun to watch late last
It was
night.
fun to watch play last night, but I'm like, oh, I mean, I can't get my eyes off of this game, but I have work at 7:30 Eastern time. So, I mean, it was fun to watch, but I'm like, all right, I gotta go to bed. I gotta go to bed.
Oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
How many Sweet 16s did you predict correct? Oh, I'm just too mad about my Final Four. I mean, I got half of them still in the national
I
title.
don't know.
What
I'm
about
taking
you?
a look. I picked too many Cinderellas this year. Uh,
Uh,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
uh,
6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9.
oh man, it's probably better than mine. That I can guarantee you.
Mhm,
Um, yeah, Auburn lost. Illinois, Iowa State. That's right. I got NC State right. So I mean, there's that. I mean, eh, I had Kentucky losing in the round of 32. I didn't think they'd be losing to Oakland,
mhm.
but I can go more on that later. But Duke, the fantastic season of Duquesne has unfortunately come to an end as Illinois has dominated them 89-63.
Mhm. Yeah, unfortunately, Duquesne couldn't pull LaSalle, but still a great season for Duquesne. Uh, no, I mean, their fans are so proud of their team for winning a tournament game for the first time since before my parents were born. So it's tough that the game was like this, but still a great season for the Dukes.
For sure. I mean, Coach Dan brought leading a fantastic run in the conference tournament and in that matchup against BYU. I mean, it's not going to be forgotten anytime soon. I just hate that it had to be against your boys, Will.
Yeah. I mean, hey, there's one A10 team alive. It's not in this tournament, but it's in the other one.
True. That's true. But how about this barn burner in double overtime? I mean, maybe it's just me, but the way Oregon was performing for a little bit, it was eerily similar to Florida Atlantic in the
Mhm.
final seconds of the second half against Northwestern. What do you think, man?
I mean, yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. Memo to me, do not be picking 11 seeds as a Cinderella team in your final four.
Mhm. I only picked Cinderella to go to the Elite Eight this year, but I picked two. I picked McNeese and JMU to go to the Elite Eight. JMU, I was like,
Um
oh my gosh, I might be right about this one. I was like, nah.
And we got Jeffrey from Only Taught Sports talking about Oregon collapsing in second overtime. Agreed, man. They basically blew it.
They blew it.
You blew it, man. You blew
Now
it.
I have a theory. I have a theory.
Let's hear it.
What if Phil Knight's contract ran out after the first overtime? Maybe he didn't have incentives for that second overtime to play well in. So maybe they weren't going to get any money for winning for the second overtime. They didn't play as well.
Oh wow. That that is quite a theory. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh man. But I'll hold back on my being mad at Oregon because I got some friends that are Oregon fans and don't want to hurt their feelings. Sports talk with Austin. You know what I'm talking about with that kind of like with Louisville where I picked them high against USC and I just kind of held back for Louisville's sake.
Yeah.
But Gonzaga and Kansas, how about that game?
Well, Kansas was. I feel like Kansas was kind of looking towards next season and not even paying attention to this game. At least that's what Bill Self said.
Yeah. Um I'm just wondering what he means. Like, I mean, I don't think there's gonna be a retirement anytime soon. I
Mm.
don't think You know, where you were saying, oh well, I'm thinking about next season. Uh, yeah, that's coach speak for anything.
Mhm.
Agreed. I agree with that greatly.
I can't believe
Bill,
I'm surprised he said that.
he shouldn't have been saying that at all. It was just dumb. And Sorgy Story says Zags to the Elite Eight. I think so.
Mhm.
And Jay Snow says, What the heck was Bill Self thinking with that statement? People are gonna roast him for that, as well as they should. I mean, time to
Man.
get Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle and like Shane Gillis to roast him on that take.
Mhm. Tim Dillon.
There you go, Tim Dillon, man. And they can all go on the Joe Rogan Experience, watch this press conference, be like, "Oh no, you shouldn't have said that."
Mhm.
Oh man, Jamie, can you pull that clip up? Oh, what was that again? But we had a great game, which was a Cinderella team versus a Cinderella team in overtime, and unfortunately, someone had to lose, and it was the University of Oakland. Shout out to Sean Garner, who's this is his alma mater. But I will say, on the bright side, they showed those Kentucky Wildcats what life was really all about.
Oh yeah. I mean, on one hand, I was rooting for Oakland because it would have been a great story. But on the other hand, I picked NC State to win this game. I had NC State beating Kentucky. So I was happy that I got the pick right. But great run for Oakland. What a run.
That was for sure. Go Wolfpack Howl. Oh,
Mhm.
agreed. That was a great game. The Pats survived. I'm glad to see more of DJ Burns.
Mhm. We can never get enough.
Nope. The big man for the 3-pointer. Love it. And Purdue has dominated Utah State. I mean, you're supposed to. You're supposed to dominate Utah State. They're not freaking San Diego State or Gonzaga. Good grief.
Mhm. So you're not sold on Purdue either, just like Jeffrey.
Not no, but hell no.
Well, they looked impressive, so we'll see. We'll see if they can carry it on until the Sweet 16. Jeffrey.
This is a try not to laugh night, but it's just we're instantly going to fail that challenge. Purdue hasn't choked yet.
Yeah.
Agree. And before the season started, there was like a guy saying to our friend Only Taught Sports, said, "Oh, you need to go to school. You need to go to school. This Purdue's gonna do all right." It's like, I'm sorry. Have you seen how Purdue is in March? Why don't you go to school? Only Taught Sports is doing awesome is what he's doing. Oh man. But one team's doing something right, and that's the defending champion UConn Huskies going up against Northwestern. Unfortunately, we see Northwestern exiting again. But I mean, 3 trips to March Madness in your school's history. It's amazing in of itself. I mean, I'm surprised Chris Collins is not a coaching candidate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just staying loyal to Northwestern, I guess. We'll see. Jeez, no.
That's for sure, man. Oh, you're welcome, Jeffrey. Anytime, man. I mean, got to tell everybody what it's all about, man. I mean, well. Meantime, we saw a great game between the Texas A&M Aggies and the Houston Cougars, and I know like Stephen A. Smith had Texas A&M going to the Final Four. So I mean, oh man,
All right, I have to make this statement.
all right.
Why don't people think that Houston chokes in the same way that Purdue and Tennessee do? Why is Houston exempt? Because I felt like Houston's underachieved in the tournament as well the past couple of years, but no one really gets on them.
I think maybe people think about like how Houston made that Final Four trip that one year with Kelvin Sampson.
They
So
only
I
beat
think,
like super low seeds though. That was the thing.
yeah.
But yeah, that was the final. I forgot they made the Final Four that year. But no
Hmm.
one, yeah, no one really
Yeah,
believes.
but yeah, it's I guess we'll wait and see if they can make another they can make it to the Final Four this year like they did 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I wonder if Buzz Williams is going to be staying a long time at Texas A&M. Maybe he should be the Nets head coach at
I
Louisville. I
mean, I
mean,
don't think he can make any more money that at A&M than he can anywhere else. He kept making more money, Marquette, and then more money at Tech, and now even more money at A&M. So
money, money. I don't care. You can't win at Texas A&M. Nobody can. Louisville is a top-notch basketball program, and he can win over there at Louisville than he ever could at Texas A&M. That I can promise you.
mm,
But shout out to our good buddies Jay and Anthony Sorgi as they did a live stream on this play-by-play of Marquette and Colorado yesterday at noon. And it was a fantastic game as Marquette has beaten Colorado 81-77. Will, your thoughts?
my first thought is I couldn't believe I forgot to check YouTube for Sorgy Story stream. I would have 100% tuned in if I would have known that you guys were streaming. I love Shaka too, but man, as someone that picked Marquette to win it all, I'm a little disheartened that Colorado played the Golden Eagles this close. I didn't want to have to be stressed out watching this game, but man, I was stressed out at the end. But yeah, let's tighten up a bit more on defense, Golden Eagles. But yeah, got Marquette, got it done. Moving on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a great
a little
game.
stressful.
Sword Story says Houston Duke is going to be a great game in Dallas. I agree. Chris Collins to Louisville wouldn't be a bad hire. I agree with that as well. Final Four and Elite Eight runs for Houston in back-to-back years has saved them. I wanted to play Buzz in the Elite Eight. Guess that dream is dead. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A&M is a joke in both sports. Agreed with 4 exclamation points behind it. Shacker called Colorado the best 10 seed he's ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to the Buffs on a great season.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of games that were really stressful, Clemson, Baylor. I mean, that's what I get for calling Baylor the Baroness set. Oh, man. So memo to me, if I want Baylor to lose, call them that. But if I want Baylor to win, don't call them that. But Will, what was your take on this magnificent upset victory?
Brad Brunell keeps getting away with it. Like, oh my gosh, like he only wins when he has to win. That's the thing. Like, you can never trust Clemson. They win when they're like they just have to do. They always have to do just enough, and always going to do just enough to get a contract extension. But like, oh my gosh, Brad Brunell, like, how does he keep getting away with it? How is he hurting? How does he keep hurting my bracket?
I think honestly, Brad Brunell is the Ward Manual of college basketball head coaches. He does just enough to save his job.
Yeah, he keeps riding that hot seat, man. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, in his case, all he's got to do is win just enough and he's good to go. And you got a question from Only Talk Sports, Will. Who's your
I
pick for
mean,
VCU Utah?
I'm biased, so I'm gonna pick VCU. But we gotta stop. We need to put Michael Bell on Carlson for Utah because that guy's a problem. But we need to put Michael Bell, who's probably our best defensive player, on him, and hopefully he can contain him enough that the rest of the team can win the game.
Oh man, that'll be a great one to watch. Uh, Only Talk Sports says Brad Brunell's job is safe. Yep, the
Yeah.
Ward Manual of college basketball is safe once again. And we got Sword Story said, "Go Tigers!" Wait, wrong Tiger.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say either Zeb or Michael Bell are probably the two best defenders.
Oh yeah. Sword Story says our buddy American Football Network interviewed PJ Hall a couple years ago, so it's cool to see him and the Tigers go deep into March. It is cool indeed for our friends, American Football Network and Jordan Bowman at Clemson Football at the Voice of College Football.
My man, Jordan.
There we go. Yeah, I asked him about how he felt. He was like, I'm gonna be sick. I'm like, oh man, I gotta ask him about how he's feeling. I'm gonna make sure of that. The Dudes versus the Dudes, unfortunately, resulted in a butt whip.
Did not go well for me. Yes, I picked JMU to win.
Yeah,
Disappointing.
that's just
JMU is
so.
a huge state school, Jason. Like a lot of people, they have very high admit. They admit a lot of people to that school. I mean, it's not the biggest school. I think VCU and ODU are a little bigger, but yeah, like a lot of people go to JMU, so it makes sense that they travel. And they have great school pride there as well. Everyone that's there is very proud to be a Duke.
Only Talk Sports says he picked James Madison to win as well. I'm so sorry, man. I hate that for you. And Mr. Clint Moses says, don't care about nothing except the Tar Heels.
Given the Roll Tide Willie slogan, but with North Carolina.
Well, I mean, he can sit at at the half court for the Alabama North Carolina game. Jordan is the man.
He is the man.
Yeah, that's for sure. I thought James Madison could do it, but Duke does
Yeah.
it again. Oh man, that's gonna be a fun game to discuss in just a little bit. Which, speaking of which, Bryce Drew and the Grand Canyon Antelopes were close, but no cigar against the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah. The Tide did just enough to fight off the Antelopes in a hostile environment. There's a lot of Grand Canyon fans there, but the Tide rolled on.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Drew's done a tremendous job over at Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he can parlay his performances at Grand Canyon to like another job, like say somewhere like in the Big East or somewhere like another basketball friendly school.
They're gonna have to fork out the money for Grand Canyon. I mean, Grand Canyon, they're a for-profit predatory school, so I don't really like Grand Canyon that much. But they do have the money, so they're gonna have to probably pay Coach Drew a lot of money to get out of there.
True. And,
Mm-hmm.
we know that Vandy fired him a few years back, but I think people are seeing that now that when Vandy fired Coach Drew, it said a heck of a lot more about Vandy than it did about
Yeah, it
Coach
did.
Drew.
It did.
I mean, they're seeing what they did now. But we see the
This,
defending national runner up of college basketball dominating the Yale Bulldogs.
mm. Yeah, I mean, this was disappointing. I was hoping that Yale would play a bit better, but they got shellacked. Jane Ledie's having quite a tournament though. He's been the man for the Aztecs for sure.
Yeah, San Diego State got that belt and just gave Yale a spanking. That's what happened. Don't let the kids watch that game. That was too violent.
Mm-hmm.
But congratulations on a fine victory, San Diego State. And in the meantime, let's start with the Sweet 16. And we start off with the Clemson Tigers going up against the Arizona Wildcats. Does Brad Brunell and the Clemson Tigers have another trick up their sleeve or no?
I'm going to keep picking against Clemson until they lose. Screw
I'm
Brad
going
Brunell. I'll go with the Wildcats.
same. I think Tommy Lloyd and the Arizona Wildcats can get it done. And we got a
Mm-hmm.
question from Sorgy Stories asking us, does Wisconsin fire Greg Gard? And if they do, who replaced him? I've heard Mike Budenholzer mentioned as a name.
I do not think they fire Greg Gard. That would be interesting if they get Mike Budenholzer, but we don't know how well he can recruit. But I think Greg Gard's going to be safe for now. Maybe if they
yeah.
don't make the tournament next year, they might get rid of him.
Oh yeah. Or if they have like another collapse in the regular season like they did, they'll be like, "You're fired, Greg Gard." Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we got the national title rematch on TBS and True TV in Boston, Massachusetts, as we had the San Diego State Aztecs going up against the Yukon Huskies.
Unfortunately, I think UConn will win. I'm anybody but UConn this year, so I really don't want them to win again. But I do think they'll beat San Diego State.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to go with UConn on that one. But at this point, my half of my Final Four is shot, so I really don't care about my bracket at this point. That's what second chance brackets are for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, after Oregon disappointed me, after Baylor lost on me against Clemson, I'm just like, screw it, I don't care. Well, we got a great game in LA at the crypto.com arena between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the North Carolina Tar Heels.
I'm gonna lean the Crimson Tide. I don't know. Nah, I have North. I'm gonna stick with my pick. I'm gonna stick with my pick, North Carolina.
I hope Alabama wins, but I'm just not seeing it. Because, I mean, I had Bama go as far as Sweet 16. I just don't see them winning at all. But,
Mm,
I guess we'll wait and see what happens.
mm.
And then we got Illinois and Iowa State going up against one another in the East region at the TD Garden on TBS and True TV. Who do you have on that one, man?
The number one offense in college basketball versus the number one defense in college basketball. Defense wins championships. I'm going with the Cyclones.
I'm gonna go with Iowa State as well. I hope. Honestly, I'm gonna be sad if one of these teams lose, but I'll be happy with one of these teams winning either way.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny about the West region?
Mm-hmm.
We could have an ACC rematch between North Carolina and Clemson.
That's true. We could. Man, if Arizona's gonna have a huge home court advantage if they play Carolina for the Elite Eight in the Elite Eight, even though Carolina's the one seed. It's kind of funny.
True. I mean, that's pretty good for a pitiful basketball conference. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but we've got some more ACC teams as we got North Carolina State and the Wolfpack going up against the Marquette Golden Eagles on CBS in the South region.
Man, I'm gonna be sweating this one out again. I think, but I'm gonna stick with my bracket and go with Marquette.
Well, I'll be going with Marquette as well. Although it's like on the one hand, I want to see Marquette win, but on the other hand, I just want to see DJ Burns one more time, just one more time, two more times.
Yeah, DJ Burns versus Oso Iguodala is gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be tremendous. And we got the ultimate test for the Purdue Boilermakers as they go up against the Gonzaga Bulldogs on TBS at the Little Caesars Arena.
I picked Purdue in my brackets. I want to go with Purdue.
I'm gonna go with Gonzaga.
Actually, I think I had Purdue losing to McNeese, but that's not gonna happen. Unfortunately.
Oh man. Oh, agreed, man. NC State Marquette will be electric.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the South region between the Duke Blue Devils and the Houston Cougars at the American Airlines Center.
Well, I have Houston going to the Final Four, so I'll stick with the pick of the Cougars.
I'm going to go with Houston on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Creighton and Tennessee on TBS and True TV to round out the Sweet 16.
So in some of my I made a couple brackets, but all with like most of the same Final Four. But in some brackets, I had Creighton, and in some brackets, I had Tennessee. This is a legacy game for Rick Barnes. If Rick Barnes can beat Creighton, I mean, that'll take a lot of the pressure off of him. But if he loses this game to Creighton, everyone's going to be all over him.
Oh, there we go. There
I
we go.
just think the pressure will get to him a bit, so I'm going to go with Creighton to win.
I'll be going Creighton just as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be pulling for him, that's for sure. But if Tennessee wins, then if Tennessee and Purdue win this week in the Midwest region against their big stiff test, then I will. I'll be like, you know what? Regardless of who wins, I'm gonna be nicer to you just for this season. But we'll wait and see. I just put in a link in the comment section in the chat of the second chance bracket of the Jacksonian. So if your bracket's been busted, you're welcome to tune in. You're welcome to join the Jacksonian group for your second chance bracket.
Well, Jackson, we had some coaching changes go on in college basketball that before we need to hop off, we're going to touch on for a bit.
Oh yeah,
And then maybe I don't know, maybe we can do some calls tonight as well because we have a great chat going.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And we will be. Let's see. We will send the invite link right here on the chat. Here you go. So if you're looking to call in, it's right here on the chat.
Mm-hmm. Dusty May is a Michigan man.
Yeah.
He is going from Florida Atlantic to Michigan. Very interesting. Warren Manuel doing just enough to keep his job and hiring Dusty May. 5 years for $3.75 million each. Do you think he'll be a winner at Michigan?
Oh yeah, he can most definitely be a winner. He'll do a lot better than Juwan Howard.
Yeah, Juwan had a good start, but once he has his players, it kind of went down the drain. I think that Dusty May, I was a little disappointed in them this year, but I think he'll have Michigan consistently in the tournament. Maybe not as like a top 5 seed each year, but I think they'll be in most years. That's my guess.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And we got a call from the host of Only Talk Sports, who is getting closer to 2,500 subs, 3,000 subs, 5,000 subs. He is getting there. We have the one and only Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports.
Jeffrey, what do you think about the latest March Madness action?
Oh, it's been crazy. I've been enjoying it. I've even been watching the NIT as well, especially VCU for you, Will, hoping that they're able to keep making a run. But yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. Appreciate that, Jackson. I'm trying. You guys are awesome, and you guys have had a great show tonight. But yeah, what you're talking about right now with Dusty May, I mean, I'm with you, Will. I think he disappointed a bit this season. I really do. I mean, they were this close. I keep saying it, and I know people don't want to hear it, but this close to losing to Memphis in the first round of the tournament last year. If they lose that game and he doesn't go on that run, nobody is thinking he is as good of a coach as, you know, what people are saying. I'm not saying he's not good. I think he really is, but that's what I was even telling Indiana fans. I don't know. I think it's a good hire, but I don't think it's a slam dunk. I think it's going to take him some time, and there's a chance it don't work out. I would say it's a better chance that it does, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Jason O's little rumor, Shaheen Holloway to Louisville?
That's kind of out of left field. I mean, I wouldn't think of it as impossible considering the fact that, you know, he did take the jump to St. Peter's and then going to Seton Hall, and that was pretty quick. I mean, it's kind of like with Danny Sprinkle, right? That was just off the bat. Like, he was at Montana State, his alma mater. Then he goes to Utah State for 1 year, then goes to Washington. I mean, Utah State is like the stepping stone job right now. Craig Smith, Ron Odom, now Danny Sprinkle, all three coaches leaving it within the last 4 years. So, I mean, Shaheen Holloway can do the same thing. I mean, I think, you know, a guy like Chris Collins, I know you guys said it, or you read my comment in chat already, but I think Chris Collins will be a good fit for Louisville.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? This is a rumor that I've been seeing online from A10 Twitter that St. Louis fans are pretty confident that Josh Schertz is going to go from Indiana State to St. Louis. Do you think he's going to make that move?
I mean, obviously, you know, locationally, it's not that far apart, right? I mean, it's pretty close. Indiana State, St. Louis, they're kind of in the vicinity. I mean, it's a jump. It's a bigger job. But, you know, if he keeps winning at Indiana State, then he could get a better job than that. He could be like all these other coaches that are taking the big jump. Whereas St. Louis is just kind of a smaller jump. It's kind of like how Pat Kelsey he went from Winthrop to the College of Charleston. I don't really get moves like that because it feels lateral. I know College of Charleston is bigger than Winthrop. And again, St. Louis is bigger than Indiana State, but it's not that big a jump. I just, to me, he needs to keep winning there and then take a bigger job, but maybe sometimes strike while the iron's hot and just take a bigger job. But St. Louis is kind of a mess right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're just hoping that Richard Chafitz's money can draw him in.
Well, I have to.
And we got another friend of the show, the co-host of Sorgy Stories, Anthony Sorgy from Sorgy Stories.
Anthony?
How you doing tonight, good buddy?
What's up, guys? I'm great. How about you all?
Oh, we're doing great.
Doing well.
Doing fantastic.
I cannot complain when Marquette's in the Sweet 16. That's all I got to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marquette, they're doing really well. They're doing really well. But I Colorado game had me on the edge of my seat, though.
Yeah, I felt pretty confident down the stretch. I don't know why. My dad was really nervous. But I just had a feeling that Tyler Kolek was going to be able to pull it out, and he did.
So there's some history here with NC State and Marquette. 1974 national championship game rematch in the tournament.
Yeah. Marquette has a much better history against UNC than NC State, as we beat them in UNC in the 77 championship. But hopefully a little bit of revenge. That might be on some Marquette alumni mind. But as Shaka Smart has talked about with Will, as you may be familiar with the Notre Dame rivalry, he continues to talk about how it means much more to the fans than it does to the players and him, as it's just, another game. This isn't, because it's obviously, the Sweet 16, but yeah, it should be a great game in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I mean that NC State team like ended the UCLA dynasty as well. Pretty cool team, little team that not everyone knows about.
Oh yeah.
Um, But what do you think of this move, guys? Kyle Smith going to Stanford.
I feel for Washington State. I really do. But they're basically without a conference. And the stability, knowing that Stanford going to the ACC, I get the move. And I mean, we know Stanford, like back when, in the early 2000s, they were pretty good, early to mid 2000s. They had some success. Like, they're not horrible. They're not a garbage program or anything, but they're also a program that let Jared Haas coach for the last 8 or 9 years without making the tournament. So I don't really know what to think. Stanford's just kind of mid. I mean, they're not good at all, really. But I guess it's a better job because they're going to be in the ACC. Washington State's just kind of left for dead right now. Like they're going to be basically in the WCC or whatever. I mean, that's just a mess. I mean, they need to join a conference, the Big 12 or whatever, if Washington State and Oregon State are going to have any shot of being relevant in the next few years. But we'll see if that happens. But I get the move. It's the stability. That's why he's making the move. But to me, I don't think Stanford's a great enough job for the move to make too much sense. But it's the stability.
Like, will Stanford put enough into the team that Kyle Smith can have success at the farm? That's the
the problem is that the ACC, like, we know that a lot of the teams haven't been as good lately, like Louisville. Virginia's kind of going in the wrong direction. But Carolina Duke are still Carolina Duke. And if Louisville hires the right guy, they can turn that around. Clemson's, for now, kind of doing well. I mean, will it last? We don't know. But Brad Brownell is just continuing to save his job. I mean, he's better at it than Clay Helton. I mean, that's all you can say. Like, it's incredible.
He can balance that tightrope, man. He can balance it.
But I just think that Stanford's going to have a lot of issues trying to compete in the ACC. They'll have a shot, but it's going to be hard.
Well, it's going to be fun watching Stanford, Virginia on ACC After Dark at 11 o'clock at night on the ACC network.
It's going to be tough with the travel, too. I mean, Stanford and Cal in general going across the country, game in and game out. It's just the money is all that matters at the end of the day. And that's the unfortunate thing. I mean, you don't want to look at it that way, but it is. But it's not ideal for Stanford. It's not ideal for Cal. And the ACC is in just such a horrible position that, I mean, if it all crumbles, I mean, what are they going to do?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about those Ben Franklins.
Even if it's temporary.
Well, Danny Sprinkle, he's going to have some stability going to the Big Ten, going to Washington. The Huskies have not been good since Isaiah Thomas hit that shot to beat Arizona for the Pac-12 in the Pac-12 championship game. I believe it was 2010. It could have been earlier or later. I think it was 2010. But yeah, I remember that Chinese Gus Johnson on the call. Whoa! And Washington wins it at the buzzer. Cold-blooded. Legendary.
Yeah,
call.
Gus Johnson's energy like 10 years ago versus now it's unbelievable. When I was younger, I mean, he was like my favorite. I still like Gus Johnson, but there's just something about his calls, his play-by-play, about 8 to 10 years ago. It's just unmatched versus now. But this hire to me, I mean, it makes sense. I knew it was going to happen. Like, I usually on some of these hires, I'm confused. Like, I didn't know with Dusty May whether he was going to go to Michigan or Louisville. I wasn't even sure. I had no idea. But with this one, I don't know if you guys saw my video on it, but when it came out that Mike Hopkins got fired, I'm like, it's Danny Sprinkle. It's going to be Danny Sprinkle. It's not going to be Kyle Smith. It's not going to be Leon Rice. It's going to be Danny Sprinkle. I like Danny Sprinkle, but he is one of those coaches, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but he's a stepping stone guy. He wants to move up. He was at Utah State one season. One season. You're not going to be there for 3 or 4 years, but no, 1 year, automatically gone out the door. I knew he was going to do it because he left Montana State too fast. That's his alma mater. I mean, you would think he would stay at his alma mater for a decade. Nope. He was there for only 4 years, got him to the tournament, goes to Utah State there a year. I knew he was taking the job. And I think it's a fine move because Washington's going to the Big Ten. The only issue is that Washington's not good in basketball. And are they going to fund the basketball team? Yes, they're going to be getting the Big Ten money, but there's a lot of competition in that conference. I don't know if he's going to succeed, but I knew he was going to take the job.
Well, we got your video of Washington firing Mike Hawkins. Who should they hire from a couple weeks ago? Got it in the chat. And flaming hot takes. If you find this on Twitter, you got some work to do.
Yeah. There's a shout out this one Twitter user I follow, Curry Hicksage. He does these Twitter spaces where he gets this I don't know how the heck he gets all this intel on coaching searches, but I think he knew about the Dusty May one like a week before it happened. But
That's crazy. I had no idea.
I just don't have that much time to go on Twitter spaces, but
yeah, I literally never go on Twitter spaces. It's unbelievable. They're always going on. I just don't have time.
Yeah, his are probably my favorite to go on. Sometimes I go on VCU and Notre Dame Twitter Spaces too when I have time.
Yeah,
over the summer, usually I go on Twitter Spaces more.
Yeah, I know on Saturday I went on the Twitter space of Locked on Louisville, Dalton Pence, where he and some friends were discussing what was happening with the Louisville coaching search minutes after Dusty May decided, hey, I like this position at Michigan a lot better than I do at Louisville. And I know
I think what's interesting about with the Louisville thing, though, is that a lot of people, when talking about with Dusty May, and again, this is rumors. I don't know if it's true, so I'm just disclaimer. But I was seeing a lot of people say that even Louisville fans themselves were a little bit hesitant on Dusty May because of the fact they didn't know if he was going to work out there. And my mind was blown away because I'm like, Indiana wanted Dusty May. We know it why, because he was a graduate assistant at Indiana, the connections and all that. We get that. But Indiana fans were like, they would do anything to get Dusty May, a lot of them anyway. Whereas Louisville was like, we're not sure. We don't really want him, or whatever. Like, I don't get that because to me, I think Louisville's a worse job than Indiana. I know Indiana sucked for a long time, but they're a worse job. Louisville, West Virginia, and Michigan, they're all kind of similar jobs to me. They're like Louisville.
Louisville's won in there. Yeah, Louisville's had more success.
They've had more success. They have a slight edge, but with Michigan being in the Big Ten and West Virginia being in the best basketball conference currently in the Big 12, Louisville's it's just not as appealing as it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's slightly less appealing. It has a slight edge, but I don't know. It's just weird. I think the reason Dusty May went to Michigan is it's the Big Ten. It's more money, more stability than Louisville being in the ACC, where, again, you don't know what's going to happen with the conference.
Mm-hmm. This is an interesting one. Darian DeVries going to West Virginia.
I thought it was going to be the James Madison coach.
We're going to talk about him next.
I thought he was going to West Virginia, but I don't dislike this hire. The more I look at it, I like it. He stuck at Drake for 6 years, has success. He's taking his son with him, too. Tucker DeVries is transferring to West Virginia, so that's a good start. It's a tough job right now, in the Big 12 being that tough of a conference, but I don't think it's a bad hire.
Mm-hmm. It's just the defensive metrics weren't great with him. That's the one.
I am worried about that.
Yeah, when Joey Foster said, I forget whose chat it was in, but he said that he thought it might be the James Madison coach. I was like, it might be him. And then this hire, I like it though. I think that West Virginia is going to improve after there wasn't much you could do this year. After everything that happened with Coach Huggins, you couldn't do anything. It was tough.
I mean, the thing is, though, James Madison is so close to the border. It's very close to the West Virginia border. Like, it just seems so natural. But.
I know. Like, I thought it was going to happen. It was so funny because I had somebody, tell me, because I said West Virginia was a really good job, but I said that it's not. Again, the luster of the job is not what it once was. It's kind of dimmed a bit, but it's still a good job. But it is on the level of Louisville and it's on the level of Michigan. And it was so funny because somebody said that, did I even know West Virginia was its own state? And I'm like, what is that even supposed to mean? Like, okay, I mean, I know West Virginia. I know the capital of West Virginia. I know when West Virginia was founded with the Civil War. Union Confederate. Like, I know all about West Virginia. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just hilarious to me. Like, just because I said West Virginia is not this top tier job, I know Jerry West is the NBA logo. I get all that. But West Virginia doesn't even have a national title, and you're trying to tell me it's a top 20 job. There's been more than 20 schools that have won a national title. So, no. I mean, it's just funny to me.
No,
It's a good
Jeffrey,
job.
I will add that to that though. I vacation to West Virginia frequently in Charleston.
Mhm.
I have a lot of family there, and
Mhm.
when the amount of people when I say I'm going to West Virginia who respond with "Have fun in Virginia," I shake my head.
Georgie,
Sometimes.
Anthony, you're always welcome in Virginia. You can stay in my apartment over the summer if you want.
Virginia is a great state. I give them credit for that, but I'm like, it's its own place, and West Virginia is beautiful. I love
Mhm.
the mountains there. But yeah, I'm like, you all need to. I don't know if you skipped out on some of your geography classes or what,
Mhm.
but no, it's its own place.
Oh, it's funny. I mean, I know some people just like to poke fun when they don't agree with somebody, so then they just gonna try to insult your intelligence. But one thing that's impossible to insult my intelligence at is geography. Because when I was going on Ty Guy's show, the trivia questions a while back, I haven't been on in a while, but like every single time it got to the geography section, I knew all the answers. It's the other stuff I didn't know.
Now this one was a head scratcher to me. Mark Byington going to Vandy.
Like, it's not a head scratcher on leaving James Madison. It's the place that he's leaving to, because it's like
West Virginia. It
Vanderbilt.
should have been West Virginia. Vanderbilt's not the job. Look at Bryce Drew. All the success he's having at Grand Canyon, he couldn't win at Vanderbilt. And after when you had Stackhouse, Scottie Pippen was there. They had Dylan Dessou. They were decent. And then they all left. All of them left. Pippen left for the league. And then Dessou and a couple other guys. Jordan Wright, he went to LSU. Dessou went to Texas. And it tanked because all of Vanderbilt's best players left. And like I said, Vanderbilt's not a place where you can replace talent you lose. It's kind of like Vanderbilt football lost their best tackle to Alabama a couple years ago. It's like that's what happens with Vanderbilt. They get poached with whatever good talent they have. They can't replace it, and you don't win there. And I mean, it's an academic school. Their athletics outside of baseball and some other couple sports that are low are awful. And I just think it's a horrible move for him. I mean, I think anybody taking the Vanderbilt job it's basically you're dead on arrival.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he can win. I don't know.
It feels to me like this is one of those moments where you're seeing the coach not go to a place to win, but it's that kind of,
Stability.
it's the stability, and it's also SEC money.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were talking about Buzz Williams earlier. I mean, I look at that contrast between him, and I'll mention him one more time, Shaka Smart leaving Texas for Marquette. Like
He kind of got kicked out of Texas too.
He was going to get fired. It's kind of like Mike White at Florida going to Georgia. Same thing.
Yeah, because I was reading about the Shaka thing this morning, and I was like, but still, for him to go to a smaller program where it's basketball first, I'm like, those are the type of coaches that you want with your program.
I mean, Anthony, he grew up in Marquette. I mean, he grew up in Milwaukee.
Well, he did grow up, I think 75 miles away. But a basketball first program, I think, is just something that, I mean, you look at Dan Hurley, you look at Greg McDermott, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that we're seeing a difference there in coaching between these two different styles of decision making.
It was so funny with Shaka Smart though, because I remember, I think it was Edward, but he was saying that he thought Shaka Smart was going to leave Marquette for Clemson if Brad Brownell got fired. I'm like, he is not going to leave Marquette for Clemson.
No,
I mean, the money is comparable.
Yeah.
Like, that's not happening.
Edward's
I mean,
that's just Edward being goofy, man.
I love it. I was laughing. I love it.
We love you, Edward, but you're gonna have to take a test to prove that you're sober. Like, nobody is leaving Marquette for that dung heap in Clemson. I mean, they're
I would say people would leave Marquette football for Clemson, but wait, Marquette football is not in existence.
Marquette football undefeated since 1960.
I love it. I love it every time I see it.
Oh man.
So what, Jeffrey? Obviously, you're going to do the previews on your own channel.
Mm-hmm.
But what game are you most excited for?
Well, I mean, it's slightly biased, but Carolina, Bama. I mean, Carolina, Bama, two of my favorite teams. I gotta go. lean Carolina, though, fandom-wise. I like Bama, but I'm more partial to the football team. I like the basketball team, but I didn't really start watching the basketball team until I was older. I've been watching the football team since I was like 5. It was like I watched Bama football, Carolina basketball because it's just the way it is. But I do like Bama basketball, but I like Carolina better in basketball. So, I mean, I hope they win, but I don't really care. I mean, if Bama wins, I'll be very happy for them too. But that's probably the game I'm most excited for. I can't wait for Gonzaga Purdue, though, if it's not that game, because I just want to see, is Purdue legit? Are they going to do this thing? Are they going to go to the Elite Eight by winning a legit game? We're not talking about these Utah States and stuff. We're talking about, and I know they beat Texas last year, but it's Texas. We're talking about Gonzaga, and they knock off a legit team. And if they do that, then I'll start believing a little bit in Purdue here. Not saying they're still going to win it all, but they have a shot if they can get by Gonzaga to change people's opinion of Purdue.
And I know people were bragging about how, but Purdue beat Gonzaga in the regular season. That was the regular season. This is the
I know.
postseason.
They do it all the time. It's the same thing with Tennessee. They're like, well, Tennessee racked up all these big wins in the regular season, and then they lose to garbage teams in the tournament. They lost to Furman last year. It's like, okay, you have to win when it matters. And Tennessee and Purdue so far have done that, but they got a long way to go. I mean, Sweet 16 isn't the end goal, but it's good enough that they got here.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Painter's best win of the NCAA tournament is probably against Tennessee and Rick Barnes. So.
Yeah.
In the Sweet 16. But it'll be interesting to see if we see a Tennessee-Purdue matchup. But what'll be more interesting is seeing not one but 2 ACC conference games in the Elite Eight. Talk about a huge Easter treat right there.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know also people want to see Carolina, Arizona, obviously, with Caleb Love.
Caleb Love reunion party.
Yeah. People want that.
Yep. I mean, if we see North Carolina, Clemson, and Duke, North Carolina State in the Elite Eight, it'll be like something that the Easter Bunny and the Easter Beagle, combined together for all of us.
Yeah, you got to throw in the Easter Beagle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the perfect week to do it because this Sunday's Easter.
Man, I love the Charlie Brown Easter, man. The Easter one. Like, it's not as good as the Thanksgiving or the Halloween or the Christmas, but it's really good. It's still a good one.
But in all seriousness, about Mark Byington, if he succeeds at Vandy long enough, do you think he can parlay that to like a bigger basketball job, like in the Big Ten or like?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you went at a school that's historically awful, then of course you're gonna move up, and that's what stinks for a program like Vanderbilt. If your coach does well, he's gone, and if he does bad, he's gone. So it's like either way you go, the coach is gone. There's no scenario, to me, with a program like Vanderbilt. There is no scenario where it ends well, because I mean, like, you want the team to do
Kevin
good.
Stallings did a pretty good job at Vandy, but then failed miserably at Pitt. Yeah. He's really the only one.
But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, look at the football team. They lost Franklin to Penn State. Yeah. It's just the way it goes. Kyle Smith's leaving Washington State. Like Washington State makes their first tournament in 16 years, and then the coach is out the door. You look at Tony Bennett at Washington State. Tony Bennett leaves. Yeah, it's the way it goes.
Same thing that happened with Tony Bennett. Like, Tony Bennett had success, went to Virginia.
That's the way it goes. I mean, if you win, the coach is gone, and if you lose, you have to fire him. There's no way it works out. Like, it sucks to be a program where either way you go, you're going to lose the coach. And for the players, it's like you want to sign up for that guy, you want to believe in that guy, but then it's like, well, if he does good, then he's going to leave. Yeah, you can transfer with him now, kind of like Tucker DeVries with his dad going to West Virginia now. But it's not ideal to be a program where if you have success, you can't keep your coach. I mean, look at Kansas. That was the entire fear with Lance Leipold. Could they keep him? Well, they have so far because they gave him a big contract extension. They're investing in the football stadium. But, like, I don't think at a place like Vanderbilt basketball that's going to be able to occur.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much every A-10 school. If you win, your coach leaves. If you lose, you get fired.
Yeah, it looks like Archie Miller's on that track of getting fired soon.
Do you think that Coach DeVries at West Virginia can be the Matt Rule of college basketball?
Maybe, but I mean that would mean he would go to the NBA. So
Well, reason why I thought about it was because when Matt Rule showed up at Baylor, the morale was at an all-time low because of the previous coach, and we're
kind
seeing
of the
like
same with Scott Drew.
what'd you say?
Kind of the same with Scott Drew as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because before Drew showed up, it was oh man, the morale was just
Yeah.
horribly disastrous.
Yeah.
And we've seen with West Virginia, where like Bob Huggins was like mouthing off stuff that's not okay to be saying on radio or television, and then like a few weeks later, he's out drinking and driving, getting in car wrecks, and he said, "Oh, well, all these cans are in my car because I'm doing like can collection." Dude, I do can collection. You don't. I do can collections.
Yeah, I'm going to say that a multi-million-dollar man is not going to be collecting cans. And the thing is that with the Bob Huggins thing, this is just my opinion. I said this before. I mean, again, words, sticks and stones may break my bones. Words will never hurt me. The word stuff, I don't even care. I know for some people it just matters so much, but to me, it's like whatever. What matters to me is the fact that he just didn't seem like he cared at all. Not even about what he said, but it's just like you're going to go out there less than a month later and get in trouble for something that you already got in trouble for back in the mid 2000s when you were at Cincinnati. That's what's dumb. Like, it makes absolutely no sense to just repeat the same issues that you've done before. I think maybe he wouldn't have got fired if it was just the drunk driving thing or just what he said. It's because of you combined it together at the exact same time, those two things back to back, and that's why he got fired. And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong. I mean, you probably needed to quit soon anyway because he was getting older and he wasn't winning as much. But like I said, it just, to me, it was more of just back-to-back offenses that was really bad versus either of the singular things.
Yeah, I know there's a buddy of ours that was saying he had a bar in his office or something. I'm like, no, get him away from that crap. No,
well, I mean, I'm just gonna say that. I mean, you can tell he does drink a lot. I mean,
yeah, when you ever whenever West Virginia's flying somewhere from the airport, he's always drinking at the airport.
Oh,
yeah, you can't do it, man. You can't do it. It's supposed to be on occasion.
Even Otis the drunk from Andy Griffith is sitting there going, "That's too much, man."
Oh man, yeah, you don't want to be worse than Otis. That's the problem.
I mean, whenever you Otis throw an Andy Griffith reference, whenever you get one of those in, it's a great stream.
I love that show, man. It's so funny. Nip it in the bud.
Well, that's all you gotta do is nip it in the bud. I mean, that's what West Virginia seems to be doing so far, is nipping it in the bud.
Oh man.
Are there any updates on the Louisville news? Did they nip that situation in the bud?
I think it's still clueless. I'm seeing articles and Twitter Spaces and just
everyone right now is clueless about Louisville.
And it makes people think worse and worse of the job too, right? I'm just seeing Louisville is losing all respect right now. They couldn't get this guy. They couldn't get this guy. What's going on? So I mean, Louisville needs to hire somebody soon. They can't rush. They can't just hire a name because they don't want to get left behind. They got to make sure the hire's right, but it isn't looking all that good for Louisville at all because of the fact that, I mean, they were the favorite for Dusty May. I mean, they were the favorite, and it didn't happen. I like Chris Collins. I keep saying Chris Collins, and I know nobody is throwing that around, but I think he would be perfect for the Louisville job. But, I mean, maybe he will be loyal to Northwestern. Who knows? But, I mean, just some of these other names, I'm just not feeling it. To me, it's they need to make sure that the hire is basically just as good as Dusty May, if not better, because they are a program that deserves it, even if people are making fun of Louisville right now online.
I mean, people clueless about Louisville, as if had to throw in that reference, but anywho, I do hope that situation works out. I mean, it'll work out fine for him. Just don't get a horrible coach. That's all we ask of you, especially for Sports Talk with Austin.
Mhm.
While we're all here,
Yeah.
just real quick, I know that there's no coaching news going on with it, but Mike Woodson at Indiana, right? I mean, I'm just saying about. I know everybody is like throwing Woody under the bus right now for all of his statements and what he said, and I mean, the more mistakes that he makes, I'm kind of agreeing. But do you think Indiana messed up here, not firing him or moving on from him? Because in a way, I look at it that possibly they made the right decision to keep him because all these jobs are open and you don't really want to enter the fray. Wait till next year. If it doesn't work out, fire him and then get the top guy, because it was very competitive right now with all these jobs open. But on the other hand, I mean, if Indiana has another bad year, it's just going to continue to set him back. I don't know. Kind of mixed.
I could see them in competition with Kentucky if it really hits the fan with Calipari if they lose in the round of 64 again, or like Villanova or Wisconsin and like a few other schools. Oh, what do you think, Will?
Wait, about Wisconsin?
Indiana.
About Indiana, about who they're in competition with if Woody gets fired
next year.
I like that. Mike Woodson, Woody. You should trademark that, man.
Possibly Wisconsin. Who else would be on the hot seat? Maybe Porter Moser at Oklahoma if they don't get in.
Yeah.
I like that. Porter Moser, Indiana.
Here's the issue. The issue with Indiana is that they're a program that historically, based off wins, based off national titles, based off all these statistics and metrics, all-time tournament appearances, Indiana is top 10 in everything. They fill up the stands every game. You know, like, it doesn't matter. Basically, it's sold out almost every game. Basically, they're like sixth in attendance every year because, you know, they do the attendance and it's like Syracuse is one because of the football stadium converted to basketball. Rupp's up there, Fog Allen's up there, Carolina's up there. But then Indiana's right there. They're at the top in every single category along with all those programs. But yet nobody wants to go there, right? And it's like Indiana's just left for dead. I mean, Kelvin Sampson getting fired really screwed up IU. And I know Bob Knight getting fired began the decline of Indiana, but when Kelvin Sampson got fired in 2008 for the allegations, that messed it up because look what he's doing at Houston. If he was still in Indiana, Indiana might have already won another title by now, maybe two, because Indiana, that ruined everything. And ever since then, they've hired not so great coaches. Tom Crean was the best hire since Sampson, and he was. He was fine.
Like when we were hearing about the news stories, like I remember hearing about it when I was like 10 years old, and I'm like, wow, these people at ESPN are making him seem like an evil person. Like, good grief. Like, he's out like doing evil things in the night.
Well, I mean, the frustrating thing is to me is that with Kelvin Sampson is that, I mean, I'm old enough to remember. I was very young, but like I was old enough to remember when Kelvin Sampson got fired in Indiana and like the aftermath of that. And like people were saying that Kelvin Sampson was terrible, like your point, like, and he was like banned from college basketball for like 5 years. And now that he's at Houston and he's winning a lot and NIL's in play and cheating is basically okay, I guess, or whatever. And like, if you do it, no one gives a flip, basically. Now Kelvin Sampson's a great coach. And it's like, I just don't understand that. I mean, it's just frustrating because like everybody's praising Sampson and I like him fine. He's a good coach, but it's like after what happened in Indiana and the fallout of that, it's just, he's fine now. Everybody's like, Sampson's great. I don't get that. You would think the legacy of that would be there, but it's not. It almost just kind of seems like, because based off chat, I mean, Indiana getting roasted right now, it just seems like Indiana's trash. That's just the way everybody sees Indiana. And the thing is, all it takes is Indiana to get the right coach and somebody to actually care enough to want to be there. Indiana will be back. That's all it would take because the program is top 10 and everything. It's just nobody seems to care. I mean, that's the thing that's crazy. The fans care, but I don't even know if the administration cares. And that's what's funny because the football team sucks, even though Signetti's there. We'll see. But I don't know. It's bizarre to me that of all the blue blood programs, or all the programs that have been considered a blue blood, Indiana is like the one that people just don't want them to be good anymore. Like the Indiana being bad is good is good for basketball, it seems. Basically, the way I see online, like the only people that don't trash Indiana are the fans themselves. Like I'm a guy that with Indiana, like you know that I like them because of the fact that they got screwed and all that. But they're a program that just blows my mind. That like it just seems like everybody loathes them except the fans. And I know that's true for a lot of fan bases, but it like you just don't really see people like so glad that UCLA is like falling or anything. Oh, they used to be a blue blood. Indiana's just like they're garbage, and and no coach wants to be there, and like they're not even a top 20 pro. Indiana's still a top 10 program, but how much longer can they go on without hiring somebody good before they do lose that status? Because I do fear it's becoming very close.
They're kind of becoming like Nebraska.
They are Nebraska. Indiana. When you showed the Notre Dame football and Indiana basketball video where they're both the same, it's Nebraska and Indiana. They're the same.
Yeah,
I would argue Indiana's a little bit better than Nebraska though, because at least Indiana's been somewhat relevant recently. I mean, Trace Jackson Davis was an elite player. You had the Tom Crean year; they were number one. Nebraska. When's the last time Nebraska's been number one? At least Indiana was number one 10 years ago. Nebraska hasn't been number one in 20
since 2001. Yeah.
So Indiana's better than Nebraska, but Notre Dame football is better than Indiana basketball.
We didn't even have YouTube when Nebraska was number one the last time. It was like the
I was a infant.
Yeah.
But oh man.
But see, pull up that comment, Jackson, where LFG he says you guys are young. Samson left Washington State in a damaged probation punished state. That comment, that is a good point. I remember that. But see, what I don't understand, LFG, is that Samson ruined Washington State, ruined Indiana, but he didn't ruin Oklahoma or Houston currently.
Yeah.
Well, he can do everything he was doing. He can do everything he was doing at Indiana and Washington State now at Houston.
I know, but that's what's frustrating to me is that he's doing everything the same at Houston. He did all of it at Oklahoma, but neither of those programs got in trouble. Washington State and Indiana got decked, and Indiana's never really recovered since then. And Washington State, I mean, Washington State's Washington State. I mean, they're not super relevant, but you know what I'm saying, though. That's the frustrating part of it.
And, I know that he like you say, screwed over Washington State, Indiana, but I'll tell you this. Let's have him go coach at Kentucky. That way they can know how it feels to be some of those other schools.
I feel like Louisville and Will Wade is just a match, though. I feel like Will Wade is probably going to be Louisville's coach.
But I mean, I know that with NIL and like everything going on right now, that it's basically I don't want to put it in too negative terms, but like it's okay to get away with a lot of things that you couldn't get away with before. That's basically all you can say without saying it super negatively. But if Will Wade goes to Louisville and the rules are okay, is he going to be acceptable? I mean, are they going to let him coach there and he's not going to get fired? Because I'm still wondering, are certain programs still going to get the axe here? We're in the NIL era. Nobody really has, but like we know with Kansas, all those mini suspensions for self. You've seen that. Those suspensions where he's out for 3 games or whatever, and they're inconsequential games. Like, oh, we punished our guy. We're holding ourselves accountable. Yeah, right. But yeah. But then Indiana and then Louisville and all the like their programs just fall apart after their coach gets the boot.
I think
and then you have all these scandals or whatever. But like now the NIL's okay, will Wade work? Because I think he would be fine for Louisville. He'd win, but he would do what he does wrong before, like he did at LSU. But would he get away with it this time?
Well, the thing is, if you're a blue blood, you're going to be fine. Whereas you're a non-blue blood, you're going to get punished.
But see, that's the thing, Jackson. That's because I used to believe your point, but Indiana back in 2008 was a blue blood in everybody's mind. Wide Indiana. I know Indiana's not a blue blood anymore to anybody except me. I still say they are. But Indiana in 2008 was a blue blood to basically everybody. I know they hadn't won a title in 21 years, but they legit just went to the title game back in 2002. So 6 years. But Indiana got destroyed. Every other blue blood, though, including Carolina, my other favorite team, they haven't got destroyed for nothing, even when they had that academic scandal back in the 2000s. I mean, that was
with like Indiana and
that was so
Louisville.
funny. It was so bad. It was funny what they did back then.
I know, like I don't disagree. I'm not gonna be like Carolina's innocent. They have never done wrong
Right.
before. Like we know that, but Carolina didn't get in trouble. Kansas never gets in trouble. Kentucky don't, right? I mean, we saw what with Cal when he was at UMass and Memphis, right? Derrick Rose, Marcus Camby. That was a wonderful situation for those schools. But then he goes to Kentucky. It's all good. But Indiana, to me, in my mind, is the only blue blood that's ever gotten in trouble. None of the other ones ever have.
Well, I know, like you said, Indiana's gotten in trouble. Louisville's gotten in trouble. But I don't think we're ever going to see like the premier blue bloods like Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky ever get in trouble. It's just, or Michigan State for that matter.
I mean, my thing is just like, I don't have an issue with teams getting punished. Like Indiana should not have hired Kelvin Sampson with the baggage. I completely agree with that. But at the same time, when you got these other programs doing the same garbage, if not worse, and they don't get in trouble, that's irritating. It's irritating me since I was probably about 8 years old and I figured out about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I was a little kid, I just watched basketball. Like, I didn't know anything. But, like, after basically 7, 8, 9 years of age, and I'm watching basketball and I figure out the stuff. I'm like, why do certain programs get in trouble and some don't? And I asked everybody that I could possibly ask about this, and they all said the same thing. If you're a blue blood, you get away with it. I'm like, well, what about Indiana? That legit is the reason that I somewhat became an Indiana fan. I'm telling you, that very question. It's the only reason that I started watching Indiana basketball, because I'm like, why did they get in trouble? Why did they get
I think it's because like Bob Knight didn't respect the NCAA. Like Bob Knight did everything his way.
Kind of like Al
Isn't that great, man? Isn't that great, man?
Yeah, kind of like Al Davis fighting with the NFL during the majority of his lifetime.
Yeah. Yep. But it's crazy. It's crazy. But, I mean, like LFG says, IU is a blue blood. If they get the right coach, the Hoosiers can still be relevant. And that's my thought processing. I mean, they are a blue blood. It's just they've been garbage forever, and it is what it is. They haven't hired the right coach, but it is what it is. Mike Woodson will end up getting fired, though. I don't think there's any shot he survives. Unless the portal is king. I mean, unless he can pull a TJ Otzelberger and just recruit the portal right. I don't see it happening. But, yeah, it is what it is, though. I mean, UNC, I love UNC, but I know what they did. And it's just frustrating. They got away with it, but other programs don't.
Yeah. That's insane. They got away with it.
Guys, I gotta head on out. I'm gonna do a few things before I head to bed, but have a great night. And see you Friday, hopefully.
You got an invite to the Jet Sign Discord and the private chat, Anthony.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's great talking to you, man.
Great talking to you. And we can tell everybody where to find Sword Stories right here on YouTube and on Instagram. You can find Anthony talking about his takes on Marquette basketball and the latest in NFL NBA. And you can find Sword Stories on Threads. So tune in for the Nets live stream on Marquette. Let me tell you, it's gonna be fun.
I'll be rooting for Marquette for you, man.
Yeah, it'll be Friday night for the NC State game. It'll be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck to Marquette. We'll be pulling for them all the way.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys. We are Marquette.
There you go.
This is a good point by Minnesota Dave. I mean, Minnesota basketball has not recovered from that probation. They have not. I mean, they made a Final Four, then they got caught like right after the Final Four, right, Dave? And then they've been bad ever since.
But that's like my point, though. Like certain programs, like if you really look in the past, and I've read about a lot of these. I knew about Washington State, the Minnesota one. Now that you brought it up, Dave, I remember that now. It's like some of these teams just get decked. Like we know with Louisville, it was bad. I mean, it was a lot more than just like recruiting stuff and all that. Remember, we know. I'm not even gonna say any of it. Like we know what was going on.
I mean, if I'm a player, like I would have gone along with it, man. Like I can't turn down that temptation.
Oh my gosh! Like again, just unbelievable stuff there. I remember reading that jump, man, when I was like 14. I was like, ooh, gosh, that was rough. But I mean, I don't know. It does hurt. Like I feel bad for Louisville fans. I do. I mean, I feel for some of these fan bases that their teams just haven't been able to recover ever from basically getting in trouble by the NCAA. And it is what it is. But I mean, you look at USC, even like have they recovered the football team since Reggie Bush?
It looks like they're starting to now, maybe.
Starting to, but it took 20 years.
Yeah.
It took 20 years.
There we go. It's
Miami hasn't recovered from the Nevin Shapiro incident.
Nope.
SMU still hasn't recovered.
I mean, they won the AAC title last year.
Yeah, I mean they aren't a national championship contender anymore.
Oh man, SMU is nowhere near what they were in the 80s when they had Blaine going on. That was a whole different escapade back then.
I mean, the best team money could buy.
Well, I mean, do you think that like SMU, Stanford on ACC After Dark kind of means they've recovered in some way?
I don't know.
I'm just joking about it.
I mean, well, you look at UCLA too in basketball, right? Like, I mean, we know what they did, right, with Wooden and all that. I mean, that's why they won a lot. I mean, Bob Knight couldn't stand UCLA. Like, he was like, I like John Wooden, but I loathe that program. I mean, it was just couldn't stand UCLA. And like, even then, they haven't won anything since the 90s. Like, they never really got in trouble, but they haven't won.
They did make 2 Final Fours in a row.
That's true. I mean, that's substantial, but they haven't gotten close to the success they used to have anywhere near it.
Oh, they haven't been to a national title in like God knows how long.
07, right?
Oh man, 17 years. Man, YouTube was just starting. We didn't even have Instagram the last time UCLA was in. The last time they were in the Natty. Good grief.
Yeah, everything is comparable these days. It's so funny to me that when I was a little bit younger anyway, like they used to have on TV, this is the last time that this program made the Final Four of the national championship game. This box office hit was out. This #1 single was out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that. But now it's like YouTube wasn't even founded yet. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the benchmark. If you haven't done something before YouTube was founded, then you're like, we're gonna be considered old in like 5 to 10 years, right? Because we were born before YouTube was founded. All right. I mean, it's like, come on, like just because I was, born before YouTube came out doesn't make me old, right? But that's the benchmark, man. Then they're gonna be like in 10, 15 years, oh, you were born before TikTok came out, you're old. It's like, why is everything got to be compared to when some social media platform came out? I mean, come on.
Oh my gosh, like I remember when I was watching a soccer game, like the announcers, like the team I was rooting for, they're like, oh man, they haven't made it to the quarterfinals since 2010, and then they started naming stuff, and I'm like, bro, shut up, and I'm like, okay, thank God we won, shut up.
It's like 2010 is not that long ago, man. I mean, it is, but it's not. Like, I get it. That was 14 years ago, which it's unbelievable. I mean, like, it's funny to me because I get all this stuff all the time because, like, I don't usually listen to newer songs or watch newer movies. I'm more of a guy like 90s and earlier. I watch a lot of that stuff, right? I mean, me and Jackson, we're watching MeTV, man. It's 50s, 60s, 70s all night.
But like, I remember when I was working at this, like, retirement home, this guy always had MeTV on.
Oh, I love MeTV, man. All those shows, Hogan's Heroes, man. My Three Sons, all that kind of stuff. It's great stuff. But like, I love watching older shows. But like, it's funny because whenever you like see people talking about those shows on like the internet, they're like, "Oh man, I'm like 70 years old. I remember when that show premiered," and I'm like, well, yeah, I know it's old, but I still like it. It doesn't have to be just like a benchmark that, oh, it's past stuff. Like I've never really gotten into that where it's like, oh, the last time this person did this or this team did this is that, oh, this came out. Because it makes stuff not feel as timeless. Like certain things are timeless. You know what I'm saying? Like some Beethoven music's like, it's 100 years old, but it's timeless. Like it doesn't have to be a benchmark. Oh, this is old. It's outdated. It's still timeless.
Well, I will say though, I can't wait to hear like somebody reference like, oh, well, the last time this team was in the national championship game, this was 20 years ago. Like, I can't wait to hear that. Like, I can't wait to hear like somebody reference like, oh, well, the last time this team was in the national championship game, this was 20 years ago. Like, I can't wait to hear that. Like, I can't wait to hear like somebody reference like, oh, well, the last time this team won their conference or was a number 1 seed or in the Final Four. Gunsmoke was the number 1 television show in America.
Yeah. I mean, and they're gonna be like, yeah, that's how old it is, and it's like it's old. It's an oldie but goodie. Okay, it's a fantastic show, right? I mean, come on, you're doing Gunsmoke disservice. Come on, like it's just you're not doing the team disservice. You're doing the show disservice. Oh man. LFG says I love the Hillbilly shows. The Beverly Hillbillies, man. I love that show.
Oh,
So
man.
good.
Like I'll do one better. Like I got one. The last time this team made it to March Madness or the Final Four, Phineas and Ferb just premiered on Disney Channel.
Yeah, I
There's
know. I feel like
104 days of summer vacation.
school comes along just to end it.
But the 80-year-old problem in our generation is finding a good way to spend it.
Like baby.
Phineas and Ferb are making a title sequence.
Oh my god.
I still have, oh man, I think at my house I still have the first season on DVD.
Yeah, man. Phineas and Ferb was like the only Disney Channel show that I liked. I mean, like I had to put up with all the live action shows and stuff with my older sister, but like the only show for me was Phineas and Ferb. That's it. That show was the greatest. I love that show before I even started going to school, man. Like I had that annual problem, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it was just, I love watching that show when I was 3 and 4. Man, it was such a good show. Like to me, that was
show
like
and then
Disney Channel show,
and then regular show. Those are probably regular shows. Great.
I watched a little bit of that one, man. I stopped. The thing was funny. Like I stopped watching new shows around like 2010, 2011. I stopped. I don't know why. I just started getting like.
We need to watch regular show together. We need to do that.
Yeah, regular show. I've seen so many memes of that show. It looks hilarious.
There you go. Like I mean that's where I heard Working from the Weekend from.
Whoa!
Oh man! What does the show devolve to? It's almost like we're kind of like doing the Traveling Fools type of show or Exploring with Ben and Sam. We're just like shooting the breeze now.
Oh man!
All the while we got Mark Byington on screen.
Yep.
That's how irrelevant Vanderbilt is.
Oh.
Yep. No,
Touchdown Vanderbilt!
Oh man! Well, before we head off and I guess off air shoot the breeze a little bit, we will be discussing with Dave our take on Drake's coach going to West Virginia.
Defense needs to improve to compete in the Big 12, but I think he'll probably do all right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, like I said, you know, when I made my video on it, I think that it's a good hire for, you know, the guys that were available. I mean, he's toward the top of the list. I didn't see it happening because I thought the guy on screen was going to be the option, but DeVries has had success, built the program up at Drake year over year. And the other thing is that when you talk about DeVries, and we didn't even mention this, he was at Creighton as an assistant from 2001 to 2018. So he was there for 17 years, then got the Drake job. So maybe that will mean that he'll be stable at West Virginia if he does well. Maybe it means he won't leave for another job, that he'll stick it out for a long time. He seems like a guy that will stick around. So that's good as well. But yeah, the defense has to get better, like the offense, but he's going to have to find a way to be able to recruit the portal in a rugged Big 12. It's going to be very hard. That conference is just loaded, but I think it's a pretty solid hire. And I love the comment from Illini Cast. Appreciate you for a comment, Illini Cast. Love that.
Oh man, it is the go-to show for Illinois fans and non-Illinois fans. If you are looking for top-notch Illinois coverage on Illinois football, Illinois basketball, Sonny Verma at Illini Cast is the go-to. But he's also a go-to for the Chicago Cubs, as he has a new channel called the Cubs Rundown. And you can also check him out on the Big Ten Show with Justin Adams, the co-host of Nebraska football at the Voice of College Football.
Jackson is a top-tier advertiser.
Choke,
did my
Cubs,
best.
choke. Choke, Cubs, choke.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate
Jackson's
it.
awesome.
I did my best. Let's get you to 1,000 Illini cast. That is for sure. You're gonna have a great summer ahead of you. And I guess that's a wrap for the college basketball recap preview show. I mean, who knows? We could probably turn it into a discussion about SpongeBob or Gravity Falls. Who knows?
I mean,
Yeah,
I could talk
I
about
do.
SpongeBob for 24 hours straight, probably. Wouldn't want to do it, but I probably could.
Well, you never know. I mean, it could happen. But I will tell you though, you can also check out Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports right here on YouTube and on Twitter. You know, this man right below us is getting closer and closer to 10,000 on Twitch, as Moose calls it. Let's help him get there, and let's help him get the 2,500 subs. And Will, what do you have going on at Will and D on YouTube, and what's going on in the Twitter, Instagram, Threads world for you, man?
Well, I've been growing a bit on Twitter. I've been trying to post more. So I'm up to 200 followers. So
Awesome, man.
Let's get you to 1,000, man. Let's get you there.
Twitter is such a grind, man. I'm telling you, like it's one of those things where you have to walk away from it because you see all this news and you just want to post your thoughts on everything, and then you're like your hours are ticking away. It's like, man, I gotta go cut the lawn, I gotta work, I gotta, it's insane. Like Twitter's great, but Twitter, you gotta walk away from it. I'm appreciative of all my Twitter followers. I'm so glad over the 7,000 people that follow me, but it's just a chore, man, every day just trying to tweet some stuff on there to stay active. It's tough. It is very tough, but really appreciative of everybody, and I appreciate everybody that watches my channel as well, and appreciate everybody for watching. Will and Jackson, everybody here. It's just you guys are awesome. All of us, enjoy talking sports, and I'm very appreciative of you guys.
Well, I will say, and you can also check me out at Jackson Johnson 979 right here on YouTube, and you can also check me out just running my mouth about the latest updates and just going on about whatever's going on in my head on Twitter at Jackson09960335 and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. And gents, I believe that is a wrap for tonight's edition of the Recap Preview Show, and we will be back Friday night after the Sweet 16. Just don't curse Baylor like I did. And everyone, y'all have a good night. Sleep well. Stay safe. Stay cool. Well, stay away from the pollen. You're going to get allergies all over you.
Yeah, the pollen is unbelievable. Got to stay away from it.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Appreciate everybody. Thanks for having me on, guys.